The Cosby Show gave us 8 seasons of laughter, love, and the perfect American family we all wished we had. For nearly a decade, the Huxtables felt untouchable. Yet the truth after the show ended is heartbreaking. One legendary father's name became synonymous with scandal. Some cast members fought illness in silence, others simply disappeared. In 2026, their real stories will leave you speechless. Hit subscribe and the bell. Right now, you will not want to miss a single moment. Number 1. Bill Cosby as Cliff Huxtable. Bill Cosby, born July 12, 1937 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who played Dr. Cliff Huxtable from 1984 through 1992. Bill was 47 years old when The Cosby Show premiered, the warm, sweater-wearing, Jell-O pudding-eating patriarch who made fatherhood look effortless and turned the Huxtable family into America's ideal TV home for 8 straight seasons. With his gentle humor and quiet wisdom, Cliff wasn't just the dad on screen. He became the dad millions of families wished they had. But here's what most of people don't know. Before the show made him a cultural icon, Bill Cosby had already built a legendary career as a stand-up comedian, won multiple Grammy Awards, and starred in I Spy, the first African-American to win an Emmy for a lead role in a dramatic series. He married Camille Hanks in 1964, and together they raised 5 children. For decades, he was celebrated as America's favorite father figure, both on and off the screen. Then everything changed. Starting in 2014, more than 60 women came forward with accusations of sexual assault spanning decades. In 2018, Cosby was convicted of aggravated indecent assault and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. He served nearly 3 years before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the conviction in 2021 on a technicality. The fall from grace was complete and very public. In 2026, Bill Cosby is 88 years old. His estimated net worth, once over $400 million, now sits between $50 and $60 million after years of legal battles and settlements. He lives quietly in Massachusetts, rarely seen in public, and the man who once defined the perfect American father now carries one of the most complicated and painful legacies in television history. Number 2. Lisa Bonet as Denise Huxtable. Lisa Bonet, born November 8, 1967 in New York City, who played Denise Huxtable from 1984 through 1992. Lisa was just 16 years old when The Cosby Show first hit the air, the stylish, free-spirited oldest daughter who brought a cool, independent vibe to America's picture-perfect TV family. With her bohemian clothes and laid-back attitude, Denise felt like the one Huxtable kid who never quite fit the mold, and audiences loved her for it. Lisa never planned to stay in the spotlight. Right in the middle of the show's run, she got her own spin-off, A Different World, then stepped away from the Huxtable house for a while to chase her own path. She married Lenny Kravitz in 1987, had daughter Zoe, and later built a quieter life with Jason Momoa. They had 2 more kids before going their separate ways. After years of keeping a low profile, Lisa slowly returned to acting on her own terms. She picked roles she actually cared about and stayed away from the Hollywood machine that tried to box her in as Denise forever. In 2026, Lisa Bonet is 58 years old. She lives a private life in California, and her estimated net worth is around $10 million. The girl who once brought that cool, rebellious energy to the Huxtable living room is still doing things her own way. No mansion, no spotlight chase, just the life she chose for herself. Number 3. Phylicia Rashad as Claire Huxtable. Phylicia Rashad, born June 19, 1948 in Houston, Texas, who played Claire Huxtable from 1984 through 1992. Phylicia was 36 years old when the show premiered, the elegant, sharp-witted lawyer and mother who held the entire Huxtable family together with grace and quiet strength. For 8 seasons, she was the calm center of America's favorite TV home, the woman millions of viewers wished they could be or have as their own mother. The role became a cage she never fully escaped. After the show ended, directors kept seeing her only as Claire. She fought hard to break free, returning to the stage and finally winning a Tony Award on Broadway, yet the perfect mother image followed her everywhere. She had already lived through 2 marriages that quietly fell apart. The first ended after just a few years. The second, to sportscaster Ahmad Rashad, lasted 20 years before ending in divorce in 2001. When the scandals around Bill Cosby exploded, Phylicia stood by him at first. The backlash was swift and brutal. The woman once praised as television's ideal black mother suddenly found herself caught in a storm of public anger and disappointment she never asked for. She stayed mostly silent after that, choosing to keep working and protect what was left of her own peace. In 2026, Phylicia Rashad is 77 years old. She continues to act and remains one of the most respected voices in television, but the road she walked was far lonelier and heavier than the graceful life she showed the world every Thursday night. Number 4. Raven-Symoné as Olivia Kendall. Raven-Symoné, born December 10th, 1985 in Atlanta, Georgia, who played Olivia Kendall from 1989 through 1992. Raven was only 3 years old when she first toddled onto the Cosby Show set as the bubbly little granddaughter the Huxtables took in. By the time the series ended, she was just 7, yet she already felt like part of the family America tuned in to see every week. What most people don't know is how heavy that early spotlight actually was. She grew up on camera, went straight into Disney's That's So Raven, and spent her entire childhood and teenage years under constant public scrutiny. The pressure to stay cute, stay thin, stay perfect for the brand took a real toll. She later spoke openly about struggling with body image, eating issues, and the exhaustion of living in front of millions before she was old enough to drive. She also spent years figuring out who she was while the world watched. In 2013, she came out first on social media and then more fully in interviews, and has been open about her long-term relationship with her wife. The journey wasn't smooth. There were public breakups online, backlash, and the constant weight of being a former child star trying to grow up in private. In 2026, Raven-Symoné is 40 years old. She's still acting, still singing, still speaking her mind, and her estimated net worth is around $20 million. The little girl who once lit up the Huxtable living room has lived a very different life off camera than the one fans saw every Thursday night. Number 5, Erika Alexander as Pam Tucker. Erika Alexander, born November 19, 1969 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, who played Pam Tucker from 1989 through 1992. Erika was 20 years old when she stepped into the Huxtable house, the tough, street-smart cousin from the projects who brought a raw, no-filter energy that none of the other kids had. Pam wasn't polished. She was real. And for 3 seasons, she stole every scene she was in. After The Cosby Show and then Living Single ended, the phone basically stopped ringing. Hollywood had already decided who Erika was, the loud, sassy black best friend, and refused to see her any other way. The typecasting was brutal. Roles dried up. She watched younger actresses move past her while she sat waiting for the next Pam-type audition that never felt right. At the same time, her personal life was quietly falling apart. Her mother had battled severe abuse and multiple suicide attempts, something Erika later spoke about openly when she became involved in suicide prevention work. The weight of holding her family together while trying to keep her own career alive left scars most fans never saw. In 2026, Erika Alexander is 56 years old. She had to build her own path, writing, producing, and choosing projects that actually mattered to her because the industry wouldn't give her one. The girl who once lit up the Huxtable living room with that fearless attitude learned the hard way that sometimes the only way forward is to create the door yourself. Number 6, Adam Sandler as Theo's friend. Adam Sandler, born September 9, 1966, in Brooklyn, New York, who appeared as one of Theo's friends in a 1987 episode of The Cosby Show. Adam was just 19 years old when he stepped onto the set for that single guest spot, a nervous, funny kid delivering a few quick lines in the Huxtable living room. It was a small role, barely a blip in the episode, but it gave him his very first real television credit and a taste of what the business felt like. What most people don't know is how that one afternoon on The Cosby Show quietly planted the seed. A few years later, he landed Saturday Night Live, and from there he built one of the most successful comedy careers in Hollywood history. He turned that early hustle into a string of box office hits, created his own production company, and became a genuine movie star while still keeping that same Brooklyn sense of humor. In 2026, Adam Sandler is 59 years old. He's still acting, still making movies, and his estimated net worth sits around $500 million. The nervous teenager who once stood in the Huxtable house cracking a couple of jokes has come a very long way since that one day on the show. He just kept showing up and doing what he loved, and it worked out better than anyone could have guessed. Number 7, Stevie Wonder as himself. Stevie Wonder, born May 13, 1950 in Saginaw, Michigan, who appeared as himself in several episodes of The Cosby Show. Stevie was already a music legend in his mid-30s when he first stepped into the Huxtable living room. He sat at the piano, sang with the family, and turned those moments into something warm and unforgettable. Stevie has been completely blind since birth, the result of being born 6 weeks premature. He never let it slow him down. By the time he joined The Cosby Show, he had already won more than a dozen Grammy Awards and changed the sound of popular music forever. His personal life, however, was far more complicated than the joyful image he projected on screen. He has been married 3 times and has 9 children with 5 different women. Several of those relationships ended in very public and painful disputes, including bitter custody battles. The death of his mother, Lula, in 2000 hit him especially hard. She had been his anchor and strongest supporter his entire life. In 2026, Stevie Wonder is 76 years old. He continues to create and perform when the spirit moves him with an estimated net worth of more than $200 million. The man who once filled the Huxtable house with music has lived a life of extraordinary talent mixed with very real and very human struggles. Number 8. Malcolm-Jamal Warner as Theo Huxtable. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, born August 20th, 1970 in Jersey City, New Jersey, who played Theo Huxtable from 1984 through 1992. Malcolm was 13 years old when the show started, the middle son who struggled with school, cracked jokes at the dinner table, and slowly grew up right in front of America for 8 seasons. Theo wasn't the cool one or the little one. He was the everyday kid most families saw themselves in. After the show wrapped, he kept working steadily. He voiced characters on the Magic School Bus, starred in Malcolm and Eddie, and later moved behind the camera as a director and producer. He built a quiet, steady career without chasing the spotlight the way some former child stars did. He married Tanisha in 2017, and they had a daughter together. Malcolm always kept his family life extremely private, rarely sharing details or photos. Then on July 20th, 2025, everything ended suddenly. Malcolm-Jamal Warner drowned while on vacation in Costa Rica. He was 54 years old. In 2026, the boy who once carried Theo's backpack through the Huxtable hallway is gone. His estimated net worth at the time was around $6 million. The laughter from those Thursday nights still plays on reruns, but the young man who grew up on that set left far too soon. Number 9. Sabrina Le Beauf as Sandra Huxtable Thibodeau. Sabrina Le Beauf, born March 21st, 1955 in New Orleans, Louisiana, who played Sandra Huxtable Thibodeau from 1984 through 1992. Sabrina was 26 years old when the show began. The oldest daughter, who got married early, moved out and came back with a husband and eventually twins. She was the one who was supposed to have it all figured out, the responsible big sister everyone looked up to on screen. That image stuck to her like glue. After the final episode aired, Hollywood kept offering her the same perfect, responsible woman roles, and she turned most of them down. She went back to the theater, the place she had always loved, and slowly faded from television almost completely. The phone stopped ringing the way it used to. Her marriage to Michael Reynolds ended after 7 years in 1996. They never had children. Sabrina has always kept that part of her life private, but the quiet ache of watching the younger Huxtable kids grow up on camera, while her own family chapter stayed unfinished, was something she carried alone for a long time. In 2026, Sabrina Le Beauf is 68 years old. She lives a quiet life, occasionally performing on stage when she feels like it, and has accepted her chosen path after the Huxtable stage lights went out. The eldest sister, once the pillar of the family on Thursday nights, has now spent the last 3 decades building her own life. Number 10. Tempestt Bledsoe as Vanessa Huxtable. Tempestt Bledsoe, born August 1st, 1973 in Chicago, Illinois, who played Vanessa Huxtable from 1984 through 1992. Tempestt was 11 years old when the show started, the middle daughter who went from awkward preteen to full-blown teenager right in front of millions of viewers every week. Her eye-rolling attitude and teenage drama made her one of the most relatable kids in the entire Huxtable family. After the show ended, the transition hit her hard. She was suddenly an adult actress who still looked like the girl America remembered as Vanessa. The typecasting was relentless. Roles dried up and the phone stopped ringing the way it once had. She tried hosting a daytime talk show and dipped into reality television, but the big acting career she hoped for never quite came back. She spent more than 20 years in a long relationship with actor Darryl M. Bell, but they never married and eventually parted ways. Growing up in the spotlight had taken its quiet toll. In 2026, Tempestt Bledsoe is 52 years old. She still makes occasional television appearances, and her estimated net worth sits around $6 million. The girl who once brought all that teenage fire into the Huxtable house has spent the last 3 decades simply trying to find her own path after the cameras went dark. Number 11. Dion Richmond as Kenny. Dion Richmond, born April 19th, 1978 in New York City, who played Kenny, better known as Bud, from 1985 through 1992. Dion was just 7 years old when he first appeared as Rudy's sweet, slightly nerdy best friend on The Cosby Show. Over the next 7 seasons, he grew up on camera, turning from a shy little kid into a confident teenager who shared some of the show's funniest and most touching moments with Kesha Knight Pulliam. After the series ended, Dion kept acting through his teens and early 20s. He landed roles in films like Scream 3 and a handful of television guest spots, but the big breakout never quite came. The transition from child star to adult actor proved tougher than it looked. Work slowed down dramatically, and he watched many of his former co-stars move on while he quietly stepped back from the spotlight. His personal life also carried a heavy chapter few fans ever knew about. For years, he was in a serious relationship with actress Michelle Thomas, who played Justine on Family Matters. When Michelle was diagnosed with stomach cancer, Dion stayed by her side through the entire battle. She passed away in December 1998 at just 30 years old. The loss hit him hard and stayed with him for a long time. In 2026, Dion Richmond is 48 years old. He lives a low-key life, occasionally taking small roles, and has largely stayed out of the public eye. The boy who once made America smile every week as Rudy's best friend has spent the last 3 decades figuring out how to move forward after the cameras stopped rolling. Number 12, Earle Hyman as Russell Huxtable. Earle Hyman, born October 11, 1926 in Richmond, Virginia, who played Russell Huxtable on The Cosby Show. Earle was already in his late 50s when he began appearing as Cliff's father, the wise storytelling grandfather, who brought a calm, old-school warmth to the Huxtable family every time he visited. Before the show ever existed, Earle had spent more than 30 years as one of America's most respected Shakespearean actors. He performed Othello, Hamlet, and other classics on Broadway and stages around the world, earning serious acclaim long before sitcoms came calling. After 8 seasons as Grandpa Huxtable, he quietly stepped back from the spotlight. He continued doing occasional theater when the right role came along, but mostly lived a low-key life away from Hollywood. Earle Hyman passed away on May 17, 2017 at the age of 90. In 2026, the man who once brought that gentle grandfather presence into America's living rooms is remembered for both his towering stage career and the quiet dignity he gave the Huxtable family on Thursday nights. Number 13, Geoffrey Owens as Elvin Thibodeau. Geoffrey Owens, born March 18, 1961 in New York City, who played Elvin Thibodeau from 1987 through 1992. Geoffrey was 26 years old when he joined the Huxtable family as Sandra's sincere, slightly awkward husband, the guy who always tried his best and somehow made it work. He brought a gentle, good-hearted energy that felt completely natural at that dinner table. After the show ended, the work dried up almost completely. Typecasting locked him into the son-in-law roles, and for years the phone barely rang. He took whatever small parts he could find, but the steady acting career he dreamed of never returned. By 2018, he was quietly working as a cashier at Trader Joe's in New Jersey, bagging groceries to help pay the bills and support his wife and young son. A customer snapped a photo, it went viral, and suddenly the whole world saw the former Cosby Show star ringing up milk and cereal. The humiliation was instant and nationwide. People laughed, memes exploded, and for a moment, it looked like one of the saddest Hollywood fall-from-grace stories in years. Geoffrey faced it head-on with honesty and quiet dignity, but the sting of being recognized as that guy from Trader Joe's stayed with him. In 2026, Geoffrey Owens is 65 years old. He has slowly returned to acting with guest roles and stage work, but the long, painful years of struggle after The Cosby Show left a permanent mark. The young man who once sat at the Huxtable dinner table as part of America's favorite family learned the hard way how quickly the spotlight can disappear. More than 30 years after the Huxtables filled our screens with laughter, the perfect family we admired turned out to be far more complicated. Some faded quietly, one fell from grace in the harshest way, and others still carry the weight of those Thursday nights. The laughter lives on in reruns, but the real stories behind it are much heavier.